Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of London meeting for today. This is our first meeting of August. We are still changing things up for every meeting. So today we are going to launch directly into the introduction of today's speaker, who is Mojdeh Cox from Pillar Nonprofit. She started in the role of the executive director at Pillar just a few months ago. Mojdeh believes in the power of collective compassion, creativity, and action towards solutions to complex social issues. Her 10 plus years of experience working in co-visioning, co-designing, and executing political and issue-based advocacy campaigns, and her social policy work equipped her with the analysis and practices needed in community-based leadership roles designed to bring people together. She has been instrumental in raising the profiles of municipal, provincial, and federal political and advocacy campaigns and building community along the way. At a time when government, businesses, and nonprofit organizations look to contribute to the dismantling of systemic barriers, Mojdeh brings forward expertise in labor relations, human rights and equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. For over a decade, she has coached organizational and community leaders, businesses, and not-for-profit organizations on reimagining their work through a heightened equity lens rooted in social justice. So welcome, Mojdeh, to the Rotary Club of London.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I initially wrote good morning, and then I realized, no, we're going to meet right at noon, and it is officially a good afternoon to you all. Thank you for the warm welcome and invitation to be with you today. You know, from what I understand about the Rotary Club, its history and how much it has grown, is that these clubs are comprised of and factions are comprised of compassionate, engaged, and caring community members who are not only just committed, but truly invested in making this world a better place. As I was preparing for this time with you all, I came across the history of Rotary clubs and was amazed at how you have transformed organizing around local issues into an international movement. So that really excites me about the comprisement and the history of the Rotary clubs. So thank you for the work that you do and how you care for the communities that you serve in. And I think it's without saying that this is hard work, especially in these times. So I want to recognize the history of this club and all of the work that it took to bring you here. Today, I will tell you a little bit about my work with Pillar Nonprofit Network and who we are, what we do, why and how we do it. This year, we also released a new strategic plan. It's bold to say the least, yet it's necessary, and there's a tremendous amount of work ahead of us. So letting you know about it would also help us along. I also want to tell you about that because it's a great segue into being able to illustrate the challenges that nonprofits and the impact sector face today. Knowing the challenges will position the Rotary Club of London in such a way that it can engage in a meaningful way with local nonprofits, or at least continue to do that with a heightened awareness of what the issues are. We can't speak about nonprofits in the impact sector without speaking about an equitable recovery in these uncertain times. And we know that particularly the City of London, but as well other municipalities in the area are working really hard at developing recovery plans for each space and area. So I think covering that is really important. And then we can't speak about that equitable recovery without addressing systemic barriers faced by the most vulnerable in our communities. And those are the folks, from what I understand, is who the Rotary Clubs of London, as well as the Rotary Clubs internationally, truly care about the most. So, you know, by way of, I don't know if you're savvy enough with your your Zoom, if you can use a reaction or an emoji on your screen to tell me, have you heard about Pillar Nonprofit before? And if you wanted to do that, you go to the reactions button on the bottom of your screen in Zoom, and you can pick a reaction. So I've got this, party hat confetti thing. If you can do that, we got some fun thumbs up. So some of you know, and some of you don't, and that's okay. By the end of this talk, you'll all be relatively familiar with what it is that we do. At Pillar Nonprofit Network, we deliver programs and services to strengthen not only individuals and non-for-profits, but organizations of all sorts and enterprises. And we support them in strengthening their positive impact in the community, helping them figure out innovative ways to create good impact. We support nonprofits, as I mentioned, but also social enterprises, social innovators by sharing resources, exchanging knowledge, and creating meaningful connections across the three pillars. And that's why we got our name of nonprofit, business, and government. We believe that a connected network truly sparks this collaboration that we are aiming at, and the willingness to lean on each other to help build and engage an inclusive, vibrant community. So when we are sparking those meaningful connections, it's easier to ask for help or ask someone what they think about your idea, or to contribute to their idea with your thoughts. Without that connection, sometimes it might feel like an imposition, even though it often isn't. So we're just making space for those meaningful exchanges as a network. I want to tell you a little bit about our mission. And our mission is, as I mentioned, to strengthen individuals, organizations, and enterprises that are invested and committed in positive community impact. And we do this by a couple of different things, and I'll name just four, because we do so much in the community as far as what our actual organization is responsible for. We do this by increasing awareness of nonprofits and social enterprises as social and economic drivers. So people are paying attention to what nonprofits are doing to help community move along. We also support nonprofits and social enterprises to develop inclusive workspaces, helping them retain their talent, to attract good talent and retain them, and how to keep their workplaces safe and relevant for today. We also facilitate collaboration through a network approach that connects nonprofits. And I mentioned this in terms of what our true why is. We really believe in that power of collaboration. And then we also find new ways through programs and services to address our community's most persistent challenges. And some of the really neat ideas that stem from this are not always our own, but that's not the point of Pillar Nonprofit Network. We're just as fine with others creating the good ideas and us lifting them and sharing their story than it is us creating that new thing. Our vision truly is, through this mission, to create an engaged, inclusive, and vibrant community. That's really what we're out to do, much of our work. Now, as you know, as you have your own strategic plan, which I needed to be a member of, and I'm going to have to now think on my membership there, Dawn. You'll have to connect with me a little later about that. But I was curious about your strategic plan. And every organization wants to be mindful about how it carries out its work over a particular, whether we align it with budget cycles or governance cycles. We've released a new strategic plan right before my onboarding. I'm brand spanking new with Pillar Nonprofit. You may have known my excellent and vibrant predecessor, Michelle Baldwin, who gave the gentle handoff of this wonderful organization over to me and new leadership in the organization. At that time when they were charting this bold path towards creating transformational change, we weren't really sure how we would be able to do that through a strategic plan to make it really what we want it to be. We wanted to shift systems of oppression. We wanted to transform. We wanted to help and support an equitable and sustainable recovery out of this deep global mess that we're in. So we did create that particular plan that we wanted to. It took us a lot of hard work and contribution through our network to do that. And the themes, and this is where I'll share my screen with you. And don't worry, by way of Don or Malcolm, who was kind enough to connect with me, I can send this visual to you, and that could be disseminated if it's not easy to see for some folks. So I'm going to share my screen momentarily to show you a visual of our strategic plan, and you can possibly follow along. If you are viewing one another with the side panel here, feel free to close it out so that you're not missing any element of the screen here. And I've been working on Zoom for some time, so please also tell me, listen here, we know exactly what we're doing behind Zoom. So if I'm giving you pointers that you don't need, flag it for me. You know, this strategic plan is so important to understand when you want to understand what Pillar and our network does. The plan, as I mentioned, charts that bold path through three key thematic areas and objectives. And equity in action, you'll see at the bottom, is what's going to support this plan move right along. And our focus there is to acknowledge our shared complicity to oppression like anti-Black racism and anti-Indigenous racism and all intersecting forms of oppression, and drive ourselves and our network into action. And that means really being able to do all of these things and more, like bearing witness to oppression and naming it, building relationships and promoting and engaging the community through their leaders and knowledge keepers to addressing inequity, support the network in recognizing and addressing institutional forms of oppression in their work, and then working through always educating ourselves and our network and examining how our own practices contribute to these structures that we want to dismantle. And then when we move to the green section of this visual, the change in action component, here we really want to work together across all sectors, not just the three that we mentioned about business, government, and nonprofits, but across all sectors to shift inequitable structures and systems to create transformational change. And we hope to do that by supporting organizations and promote practices that advance environmental sustainability. And we want to help people rework the economic system toward one that will uphold decent work and inclusive and is inclusive for all, rather. And as Pillar has done over the years, we facilitate and convene and support groups in tackling the most complex issues so that they can drive transformational change. And we want to ensure that we help at least increase individuals and organizations' capacity to think systemically in a collaborative way to enact change. Last but not least, when we're talking about recovery and action, this component in the orange there at the very top of this visual is there to help us promote an equitable and sustainable recovery that addresses the inequities that have been exacerbated by COVID-19. And we hope to do that by providing support and information to help organizations stabilize and strengthen their core functions. We hope to share trends and help people respond through their plan for the future in a way that still keeps risk on the radar around COVID and other recovery issues that we need to keep at top of mind. And we want to amplify awareness of the inequitable impacts of COVID and advocate to strengthen disproportionately the folks who are most impacted in our communities. So I'm going to stop sharing at the moment. You'll have my face again on the screen because I will share this visual with you more broadly if you would like. I think I'd like to cover how it is that we do this work before I get into some of what our deep disparities are today in the nonprofit and impact sectors so that you folks can understand when you're doing your parallel transformational work in our communities to know where we can find some alignment and opportunities to work together and collaborate. You know, we have several programs and services at Pillar, but our deepest one, and I was just in a breakout group, and I'm sorry I didn't look at the names and retain it. I was speaking with a lovely member of yours that said that they used to work right out of our Innovation Works shared space. So Pillar Nonprofit, we have a shared space where we like to think the right people are likely to meet at the right time in the right environment for that collaboration and sparking new ideas. This is a 32,000 square foot co-working space right downtown in London. It was intentionally designed for social innovators and people who are like-minded to come together. It's designed to really attract people who want to create an impact. We also do advocacy, as you know, and awareness. And big part of the strategic plan is to extend that work to talk about COVID recovery, but also systemic barriers. We offer social enterprise support, and where it often is the case, most people, regardless of the demographic you come from, are challenged with securing financial supports, coaching supports, and even strategic supports for growing or thinking of dreaming, let alone growing a new business or enterprise. So we provide really intricate supports on social enterprise for social enterprises for their growth. We connect with our team, and we connect local entrepreneurs with our team to do a needs assessment first and foremost, and then we help build out and scale out their work through all of the unique ways that they reach out to us. So many dynamic ways to have touch points with folks who want to create new businesses and have great ideas. We also have our impact consulting, which is one of our first true social enterprises. Impact consulting does some of this entrepreneur support, but we also do strategic planning with organizations, and we help them essentially carry out their work in a meaningful way where they can spark meaningful connections through collaboration as well. One of the first few things that Pillar has done or did as an organization and as a network, back when it was very similarly thought of by a few people like-minded, similar to the Rotary movement, where I've read in your history that it took a couple of bright minds around a table to build out this massive movement internationally of people who care. You know, when Pillar was created, we first thought we're going to support nonprofits through helping them build good governance, because we all know as non-for-profits, sometimes the boards are certainly where we get most of our stamina and our momentum from. And then we transformed into all of the things that we do today. We also do learning and development for individuals, businesses, and organizations. And what I mean by that is professional development training, but also some really essential things in these days anyway around wellness and mental health and self-care. So we have an array of different learning and development opportunities. One of the most exciting areas, and this is, I promise, the last thing I'm going to humble brag about with our business, is that we work with impact investing and social finance in a different way. We also own and operate Verge Capital through collaboration. Verge Capital is that impact investing hub and social finance center of our work. You know, many people have great ideas, just don't know how to cut into that financial foray and build out supports to do their work in a meaningful way. So here we are doing impact investing quite differently. Over the years, we have held the largest storytelling event through the Pillar Community Impact Awards, and every year we've been, even through COVID, we've been holding these awards to highlight the great work that's happening, not just in our network, but in the communities that we're in and around London and surrounding areas. Sometimes we get some great stories from outside of our catchment areas too. So this has been a long-standing feature in London. I want to go back to, without having to, I see some of you blinking, so I know I haven't put anyone to sleep. We have to talk about the challenges of the day. And the challenges of the day look quite different than other times where nonprofits have felt that pressure point. Unlike that last round of economic crisis that we came out in the right before 2010, where we had experienced, particularly in London and surrounding area, deep devastation and unemployment. This is a different kind of beast that we're dealing with. And when we're talking about recovery specifically to COVID, we've got to look at where the standing of nonprofits are. One thing we know through some of the great work of many other networks in our and in our community, like the Ontario Nonprofit Network, I highly suggest that your crew takes a look at their work, because they've released a recent report. And what I'll do, Don, is send that along with the graphics so that you can all take a look and take a deeper dive into this report, where it really illustrates where nonprofits are. And why it's important for you folks to know this is that, we're, as I mentioned, we're dealing with a different kind of crisis within the nonprofit sector. So COVID-19, we mentioned earlier, has really put remarkable barriers in front of nonprofits and everyone, I would have to say, across all sectors. One thing we found through this most recent rounds of reports that are happening on the regional, provincial, and federal level is that the nonprofit sector is still standing and resilient. But we are experiencing more demand of programs and services, but tackling that with huge revenue losses. So there's more need for our services, less money to work with. Almost 2/3 of nonprofits reported an increase in demand for programs and services. And at the same time, half reported pandemic-related losses to revenues. Pillar is one of them, because of our 32,000 square foot co-working space that had to be shut down for a greater part of 18 months, on and off, with some essential workers able to utilize our space. That's just not even hitting the, scratching the surface of the organizations that didn't have funding to continue with programs that tapped into the most vulnerable. Only a minority of nonprofits were supported by emergency relief measures that the government put into place. 7 out of 10 did not receive any provincial supports geared towards nonprofits. And it's because those resources were actually quite slim. And for things that, I think a massive number of I should also mention the massive number of loss of volunteers has also impacted the nonprofit sector in such a way that it's another layer of loss. 61% of nonprofits have lost volunteers since the beginning of the pandemic. Now, we want to ask for things of the government in the next little while to help us address these issues. And I'll give you those details with the report. It's actually quite embedded in the report. This is just the tip of the iceberg here. When we're looking at the deeper devastation of COVID-19, and I know folks, I'm mindful, Dawn, I've got a timer on, it's telling me I have 4 minutes left. So I am gonna keep in with the timelines here.
And if you need an extra minute or two, it's fine.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you so much for that. I will certainly stick within the time allotted. at the onset of the pandemic, we began advocating for relief measures to help nonprofits and social enterprises weather the storm. We need to do far more of that as a network. When I say we, I mean the Pillar Network. The sector started to see some results. Innovation Works, particularly this co-working space, despite our financial issues, we provided rent subsidies to co-tenants. We increased the frequency of communications with our members. We rolled out a Wellness Works program where we talked about health and wellness, where people were diving into work at home, huddled over, not taking the appropriate breaks, try to help people along with mental health and mental illness. We brought together executive directors in the nonprofit sector to hash out what they're dealing with and work together collaboratively before, as well as more than they've ever done before, rather. I want to say that we've rolled out a Sustainers campaign to play a vital role in numerous ways in helping us come out of the recovery in our network. And this Sustainers campaign is not like your typical fundraising campaign, but it provides a public testament that leadership and organizations can support one another to build a better future through recovery and build a strong, connected sector. It gave us financial flexibility to be able to respond to emerging issues and provided us with the financial support to maintain and access fee levels for all groups so that we can actually still maintain our work, but make it far more accessible for people. One thing that I always roll with is one quote, and it was from an anthropologist by the name of Margaret Mead. And I know perhaps some of you, just by way of some nods, I know some of you are familiar with this quote, but I'll state it as one of the things I'm going to leave you with. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that's something that we know both out of the Rotary Club's history and Pillar Nonprofit Network's history, where it started with a few like-minded folks with some big ideas and big hearts, even bigger hearts, to create change in our community. We have to focus on, we're never too few to make a difference. So I want to say, for those of you who are so actively, I was looking at your newsletter that came along with the notice of this meeting, who are so actively engaged, don't be disgruntled by this COVID phenomenon. There are ways that you can both virtually and more deeply and intimately connect with local nonprofits. We need you now more than ever. And I think that we keep in mind that it's always been a small group of like-minded and like-hearted people who've created change. I think both of our organizations are a testament of that. We can say that we can ring true and stay true to that statement. I want to thank you. I felt like I rambled on a lot about what it is that we do. As a network organization, we're never alone. So when we tell these stories about how our journey has come to this point, it's very much similar, the same for many organizations in our network. So we're never alone in sharing that. I appreciate that you've given me the platform to come and speak with you as a former Londoner that has come back home to serve its community. I am thrilled that you're tapped into what Pillar is even, let alone what we do and how we can further engage our collaboration. So much gratitude. I know there's some Q&A ahead. I took up more time, Dawn, even though I said I wouldn't. Sorry about that. Oh, you're still on mute.
I'm usually the person that tells everybody they're on mute. Thank you. It is time for question and answer. So raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have a question. Jack Scott, did I see your hand there? Or Rashad?
Yes, hi. I have two questions. What kind of support would you want at Innovation Works? I used to be a volunteer at a co-working space in Texas, and I enjoyed my time there. And I would love to, be available, I guess, to the younger generation or older generation, whoever. So, I can do my work there instead of here. And if they want support in any projects, I'm happy to assist. Also, in regards to Verge Capital, would it be open to supporting like affordable housing initiatives? This is something I'm working on. I have a small building. I'm looking to build 8 stories for affordable housing, and I'm wondering if Verge Capital would offer assistance in that. Thank you.
Those are great. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you so much for the question. And I would love to hear more about your journey with the other co-working space in the United States. So I would say reach out and book a time to come in to speak with the Innovation Works lead director. In terms of the supports, our deepest challenge is filling up our space. So we're really and volunteers to help us do that and run the space. So we have volunteers that do all sorts of different things, but we also have a very accessible fee structure for renting out flex desks, renting out flex offices, or permanent desks or permanent offices. So I would say book a time, let us show you around, let us show you what our packages look like and see if it works for you, even test it out for a little while and see if it works for you. And the invitation is open to anyone who wants the safety. We have PPE, we have plexiglass, we're fully masked, and we have reduced capacity. The supports that Innovation Works needs the most is amping up our volunteer ranks, because we'd like to roll out evening and after hour events as well as greeters at the front desk. In terms of Verge Capital, at the same time, Rashad, I would say I would have someone roll through what Verge Capital truly does. We're actually amping up a new fund that gives smaller scale subsidies and bursaries and grants and investments to local entrepreneurs with their great innovative ideas to help them with their business costs. We don't know what this new iteration looks like. So when it does come to full fruition, Rashad, I'll be sure to flip that over to you, but it would mean for you to send me a quick email. And before this is done, I'll plug that email right into the chat here. You can contact me directly about that. Verge
Sounds
Capital
great.
gives smaller loans. We're talking 8 stories. Kudos to you for thinking big on housing. We're actually collaborating with many organizations that are really delve deep into the housing issue. We're also very much so interested.
Excellent.
I do have a
Thank you
direct
so much.
message. Thank you for the question. Dawn, I have a direct question, a direct message that came into the chat here. Can I address that before we go to our friend Jim, who would like to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. It says Keith Morrow asked, does Pillar provide direct face-to-face client service delivery? And yes, that is. So the learning development, all of what we did was actually face-to-face until COVID came in, and we've now taken things virtually. Much of our face-to-face is around the learning and development, the shared space, but also through the direct coaching of entrepreneurs. We've done several collaborative projects with organizations that do direct client to, and when I say client, I mean community member to nonprofit relations. So I can, on our website, there is the programs and services tab that I'll also provide a link for before we go, so that you can see the fulsome array of all of the service offerings. But all of our work goes direct to impact.
And Jim.
Thanks for that question, Keith.
I wanted to ask
Hi,
about the volunteer area that you addressed. When you look at nonprofits, government and business, the nonprofits now have a lot of paid professional people who deliver the program. When Pillar started, it was because we had the 2001 Summer Games and 2,000 plus volunteers. And the idea was, how can we harness those volunteers after that great initiative? So I wonder if you keep some kind of register of volunteers and volunteer opportunities that we might be able to tap into as Rotarians and as service clubs. And as you look at the crisis for nonprofits, does it address the crisis that we find in attracting younger people to the service club model.
So interesting. We can certainly talk about different ways to attracting young people into the service club model. I have to say I feel like my generation is the ones that are more keen to hearing it. We've got to do a better job with those after my generation, my cohort. So that's a really interesting question. With Pillar Nonprofit Network, we actually did transform from that idea of 2001 games, 2000 volunteers. We have a whole registry of volunteer opportunities on our website. So if you go right to our website, you don't need to be a member. You can actually see many of our network members flip to us what their volunteer needs are. We post it and we give you the direct link to connect to those organizations directly. Pillar ourselves also garner volunteers. It's mainly around events and the space to get this place moving and shaking, but there's often other opportunities as well. So right on our website, I will post that link too, where we show not only volunteer opportunities, but also jobs for those who are hiring in the impact sector. You know, we have a youth engagement. To your question, Jim, as a part 2 of your question around how is it that we can garner interest from young folks. I'm happy to connect the club to our youth engagement coordinator. Her name is Aditi, and she is incredible at galvanizing youth as young as high school students to care about all sorts of different things and align themselves with organizations who are of similar interests. So I think this could be, there could be a part 2 to getting you folks acquainted with maybe even the executive or at a planning meeting with someone like Aditi, who would have 1001 ideas of how to engage youth.
Wonderful. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. So I would like to thank you for your presentation to our club today. It's nice to finally be able to put a face to the name that I know I've seen in the media since you were appointed to your new role at Pillar and at Innovation Works. Sorry, keep fixating on the building. I love the building there. So
oh,
it's
I
great.
hope I see you there soon.
It's great to be able to finally associate a face and a personality to the name behind Pillar Nonprofit now. So thank you very much for coming out and presenting to our club today, explaining what is going on at Pillar and where you are going in the future. I think there is room for collaboration in the future, so we will be following up. In recognition of your presentation to us today, the Rotary Club of London has made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus campaign, and we will be immunizing 50 infants against polio. Because of you, Rotary is one step, no problem. Rotary is now one step closer to a polio-free world. And something I just wanted to share, because people don't realize necessarily how close we are to a polio-free world, is this is the latest statistics as of August 2021. We are down to 1 case in Pakistan, in 1 case in Afghanistan this year. There have been no cases of polio in the wild in the last 6 months. So we are getting this close to eradicating polio in the world. So thank you very much for attending our meeting today and presenting to us. You're welcome to stick around and take part in the rest of the meeting, or if you have other commitments, feel free to leave. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this, and it's so touching to see my home country on this list with a 0 because of the incredible work that you all do. I'm amazed. Thank you so much. I hope that we can do this again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
So we will now proceed with the rest of our Rotary announcements. The first item on the list is there will be a district noon Zoom meeting next Monday. I believe it's going to conflict with our meeting, so you'll have to make a choice. Do you attend our meeting or you? No, it doesn't conflict with our meeting next week. I'll get to that later. So there will be a district noon Zoom on Monday that you will be able to attend. The guest speaker will be Neil Dunsmore, who is a Rotarian from District 7080, who walked from Elora to Ottawa, which is over 500 kilometers, to raise awareness for mental illness. And you will be getting an email invite to that from the district sometime in the next couple of days. The other part of next week and why we won't have a meeting on Monday is next week we will be doing our Rural Urban Night, which also includes a little bit of fellowship. So Thursday, August the 19th is when we will be doing that. There will not be a meeting on Monday. Past President Diane and Steve will be hosting us on their farm. A lot of details will be coming out in an email this afternoon. The important parts is the farm tour will be starting at 5:30 p.m. Dinner will be starting at 6:30 p.m. We will be requiring registration for this sort of event. We need to have registration both for contact tracing if that is necessary, as well as we need to make plans for food and drink for next week. So please sign up once you receive the email, and we'll promise you a great farm tour and the opportunity to socialize with the other members in the club. The other item going on next Thursday as well is there will be a virtual information session for the Youth Exchange Program. It's for prospective parents and prospective students and their parents. So if you know someone that is in grades 9 through 11 that is the sort of personality that would benefit, that would appreciate the opportunity to live and study abroad for a year, please encourage them to go to this information session on Thursday, August the 19th. The details for it are on our Facebook page and will be on our website shortly. This is for exchanges starting in the summer of, or so August of 2022. So a year from now is when the students will be leaving, and they would be spending 11 months in another country, learning another language, learning another culture, and having the experience of a lifetime. I'll hand over to Heather to talk about the golf tournament.
I'll come off mute for that. Thanks, Don. Well, we're rolling really well. Ha ha ha. So we have 16 teams confirmed. I have 2 pending. So hopefully we get at least a full 18 teams. That means 2 on every hole. So it'll slow the play a little bit, but nothing worse than doing a full 18 with a couple of double ups. I'm going to say all of the games are sponsored except 2, waiting on a confirmation on 1, thanks to Don and Danielle Bork. We've got a number of donors, thank you, and our whole sponsors. We're up to 6 at this point. We could always use a few more of those. If John Diaktis is on the phone, he will update us on auction, but of course we're always looking for auction items. Gift certificates do particularly well, and the food and beverage, of course. We could use car detailing, anything with a gift certificate does exceptionally well. So if you haven't already supported in some way, or you have a contact or a connection, please reach out soon so that we can start pulling that together, because we are at August 9th and we are basically a month away. So any questions, let me know. Working on final graphics this week.
Thanks, Heather. It's John. Yes, we could use more for sure. It's been a slow start. So anyone has anything that they would like to donate for the auction, we'd be glad to take it. I'm glad to pick it up from you or you could bring it that day, as long as we have a description of it and so on with a value to it, so we can get the sheets already ahead of time. But certainly could use quite a few more donations towards the auction.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think the next announcement is the East Coast Kitchen Party. So things are starting to come together for the East Coast Kitchen Party. A lot of details are still being worked out because it has to be flexible. But right now the date is Friday, October the 8th. So please save that date for the East Coast Kitchen Party. And as more details become available and we know when we'll be selling tickets, they will be provided to everyone in the club. And then the last or second last item announcement is the Rotary Global Grant Scholarship. This is a one-year scholarship to study at a postgraduate level somewhere outside of Canada or the United States. So if you know someone who is just finishing off their undergraduate studies or is 1 year out of university, this is an incredible opportunity. This is funded by the Rotary Foundation, the Rotary International Foundation, and it funds those studies for up to $30,000 for the year. More details are on our Facebook page. And I think we do have an announcement from the bingo team. So is that Keith or is that Randy?
Actually, I can talk to that, Don. Bingo is back. I'm happy to report. We worked at bingo last night. Keith Morrow, Daniel Bork, and myself, the three of us. We had a very, very successful bingo. They only allow 107 people into the bingo hall because of social distancing, but certainly they were very eager to buy the books, the bingo books. And we added over $6,600 to the pot going forward with bingo. So we're back. Bingo, September the 8th. We'll need some volunteers for that as well. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Don, it's Rick here.
Go ahead.
I do have an announcement.
Yes.
Okay. I just able to sign in. It's been a hectic day. I apologize for not being in the meeting earlier. The Environment Tree Planting Day has been set for our club and the Satellite Club. It's going to be Saturday, October the 2nd. So I will be sending out an email looking for people to sign up to participate in the tree planting. We will be planting trees at the London Hyde Park Rotary Link, which is up in the Hyde Park area, northwest corner of London. Further details to follow, but anticipate receiving an email blast to all members of both our club and the Satellite Club. I'll get to that sometime this week. The second thing is that David Elliott, a follow on to Don's announcement about the East Coast Kitchen Party. David Elliott was waiting on some final things before he wanted to talk to the Hellenic Community Center, but there will be an area, the clubs that participate in that, there will be a meeting and I'm our representative and we will have more details. It is a fundraiser for our club, so there will be, besides John Diactis looking for the golf tournament, we will be seeing if we can't raise other auction items for the benefit of our club for the East Coast Kitchen Party. So thank you.
And Diane, I believe, has an announcement.
Hi, everybody. I was contacted by our coordinator for the London Blood Donor Clinic, and we are now in a position where we can where we could have more volunteers from our Rotary Club sign up. So if you're interested in working the hospitality area of the Blood Donor Clinic, our shift is Wednesday from 3 to 5. Please email me. You do have to register on their volunteer page on their site and sign a confidentiality agreement. So it's not just a matter of saying, yes, you'd like to do it, but approval happens quickly and we do need a few more. So just email me and I will send you all the links if you're interested. Thank you.
A question, Diane. Those of us that have done it before and signed the applications and confidentiality are
you're all fine. Everybody that has gone through that, you're still in my cycle, and we just need a few more.
And that is our meeting for this week. A reminder that we have our cocktail hour tomorrow night at 5 p.m. and Coffee Clutch Thursday at 10:30 a.m. We will not have a meeting next week. Instead, we will be meeting on Thursday night. The Satellite Club will be meeting on Tuesday night, and our board meeting is on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Thank you, everyone. A reminder that our Rotary motto is serve to change lives, and have a great week. Thank you.